You're listening to Morning Coffee Thoughts. Today's piece is called "The Government Said It Would Come Down Hard. So Why Are We Still Counting Bodies?" Let's get into it. 71 gas stations, caught red-handed, raising prices before the legal window, refusing to sell, sitting on inventory, while ordinary Filipinos lined up at the pump. The DOE's own undersecretary personally walked into Global Oil House in Pasig City and handed them a show cause order, on camera, for everyone to see. That was March 9. It is now April. Ask yourself, what actually happened to those 71 stations? What the government called a crackdown. Let's be precise about what the DOE did, because precision matters when the government uses words like crackdown. They inspected 87 stations. They found 71 in violation. They issued show cause orders to 54 to 55 of them, giving station owners 24 hours to explain themselves. That's it. That was the crackdown. A show cause order is a piece of paper. It is a request for an explanation. It is not a fine. It is not a closure. It is the government asking someone who already broke the law to please explain why they broke the law. Out of all 71 flag stations, exactly 2 had their permits canceled. 2. The rest, still operating, still holding their certificates of compliance, still pumping fuel to the same communities they chose to squeeze during a supply crisis. 400 stations went dark, and the DOE had no idea why. Here is the part that should make you angry. By March 23rd, the PNP was reporting that 403 gas stations had shut down across the country. Cagayan Valley, 64 closures. Bicol, 42. Northern Mindanao, 38. Central Luzon, 42. Not a single closure in Metro Manila. The DOE's response? They launched an investigation to find out why stations were closed. Read that again. The agency responsible for monitoring, regulating, and enforcing standards in the downstream oil industry, the agency that is supposed to know what is happening in this sector at all times, had to launch a probe to figure out why 400 of the stations under its watch suddenly stopped selling fuel. Undersecretary Fuentebella said, and I'm quoting directly, "That's what our OIMB is checking. If we find it unreasonable, there will be temporary or permanent revocation of the certificate of compliance, if they find it unreasonable." 400 stations, and the DOE was still in the if stage, the numbers that exposed the real score. 6 criminal cases were filed by the PNP by the end of March. 7 individuals charged, 3 cases in Bicol, 2 in Eastern Visayas, 1 in Davao. A driver arrested at a checkpoint carrying 680 liters of gasoline without papers. A 43-year-old in Ligao City caught with 1,200 liters worth over 2 million pesos, buying in small amounts through multiple people to evade limits. These are small fish. These are the people with plastic drums and second-hand trucks. These are not the operators who sat on thousands of liters inside licensed stations, waited for prices to climb, and then quietly reopened once margins were fat enough. Those operators got a letter, asked for an explanation, given 24 hours, and then largely left alone. The law has teeth. The government just refuses to use them. Batas Pambansa, Blog 33, as amended by Presidential Decree No. 1865, is clear. Hoarding petroleum products, selling above regulated prices, and manipulating supply during a crisis are criminal offenses, not administrative, criminal. DOE Department Circular No. 2021-05-008 is also clear. Price adjustments happen on Tuesdays. You do not move the pump price before that window. You do not withhold supply. The law exists. The violations were documented. The government had names, addresses, CCTV footage, and its own undersecretary standing in the doorway of a station that broke the rules. And it still chose show cause orders over criminal referrals for the overwhelming majority of those caught. Cagayan de Oro City Ordinance carries a 5,000 pesos fine for premature price increases. 5,000 pesos. That is not a deterrent. That is a rounding error on a slow Tuesday for a busy gas station. A separate scam because apparently one wasn't enough. While this was all happening, the SEC was separately dealing with Dual Fuel Petroleum Corporation. This company had been selling the public co-ownership slots in gas stations, 500,000 pesos per slot, promising quarterly profits for 20 years. The SEC found it to be an unauthorized investment scheme. Registration revoked. The company and its 5 incorporators fined a combined 2 million pesos. Let that sit. Gas station operators were squeezing customers at the pump on one end and offering them fake investment returns on the other. The petroleum sector was running two rackets simultaneously, and both were operating in plain sight. The question nobody in government is asking out loud. By March 30th, the number of closed stations had dropped to 365 from 425. Some had apparently restocked and reopened, quietly, without explanation, which means many of those closures were not about empty tanks. They were about waiting for prices to go higher, waiting out the government noise, waiting for the show cause orders to expire in a drawer somewhere. And when the moment was right, when the margin was right, they opened back up, business as usual. The government set a 24-hour deadline for explanations and called it a crackdown. The industry sat on its hands for 3 weeks and called it a supply problem. 71 stations violated the rules. 2 lost their permits. That ratio, 2 out of 71, tells you everything about how seriously the downstream oil industry takes the threat of government enforcement. Delicadeza demands more than a press conference and a paper order. The Filipino public, the ones who lined up at gas stations that chose not to serve them, deserved more than that.